Welcome back to State Quarter. If you have ever tossed a Washington quarter into a drawer, a jar, or your pocket without a second thought, this might completely change how you look at your money. Some of these ordinary-looking quarters have sold for jaw-dropping prices, and a few are worth more than most people's cars or even homes. Today, we're counting down more of the top valuable Washington quarter dollars from a modern era, and the values only get more shocking as we go deeper into these overlooked dates. Make sure you're paying close attention because the next coin could be hiding in your own collection, waiting to be discovered. We're starting this segment with a Washington quarter that almost everyone overlooks, the 1970 no mint mark. And that's exactly why it deserves your full attention right now. At first glance, this coin looks like nothing special. It's a modern-era quarter from 1970, widely circulated back in the day, and for years, people treated it like spare change. But the truth is, in the right condition and with the right characteristics, this coin has shocked collectors more than once. Let's look closely at the kind of example you're likely to find. This 1970 no mint mark shows clear signs of heavy circulation. The surface has a soft gray tone with plenty of contact marks scattered across Washington's face, the cheek, and the fields. You can see fine scratches running in different directions, a clear sign this coin spent decades moving through pockets, cash registers, drawers, and counting machines. The luster is mostly gone, replaced by a flat, worn appearance that tells us this piece lived a full working life. The rim is still complete, but it's slightly rounded from all that handling. Another strong sign of long circulation. This places the coin firmly in circulated condition, likely very fine to extremely fine, depending on how much detail remains under close inspection. Now, here's where things get interesting. In circulated condition like this one, a normal 1970 no mint mark Washington quarter is only worth face value, or maybe a few dollars at most if someone needs a filler for a set. That's why so many people stop looking right there. And that's exactly where the big mistake happens, because this date isn't about average coins. It's about the rare survivors that slipped through quality control at the Philadelphia Mint. During 1970, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 136 million quarters at high speed to meet everyday demand. That kind of production pressure is where errors and exceptional strikes happen, and some of those have become legendary among collectors. The most valuable examples of the 1970 no mint mark are not worn like this one. They are sharply struck uncirculated pieces with blazing original luster, clean surfaces, and absolutely no distracting marks or damage. In MS 67 and higher, these quarters become extremely scarce. So scarce that when one with exceptional eye appeal comes up for sale, collectors compete aggressively. High-grade examples without errors can reach thousands of dollars, with some certified pieces selling well into the four-figure range depending on the exact grade and quality. But the real shock comes from error examples. Off-center strikes where the design is dramatically shifted, double strikes that create overlapping impressions, wrong planchet errors struck on dime stock or other incorrect blanks, and rare double-die varieties have pushed values far beyond what anyone expects from a 1970 quarter. In confirmed authenticated major error conditions, some 1970 no mint mark quarters have entered serious money territory. Extreme mint errors combined with pristine or near-pristine surfaces have been valued at tens of thousands, and in the most dramatic cases, well into five figures or more when the error is bold, visible to the naked eye, and the coin shows minimal wear. And here's the emotional part that hits collectors hard. Coins like the worn one you're picturing were struck from the same dies in the same year, at the same mint, as those record-setting examples. The only difference is survival and luck. This coin shows us what most 1970 no mint mark quarters became: worn, scratched, spent, and forgotten. But somewhere out there, a tiny handful escaped circulation entirely. They were pulled early from rolls, stored carefully in collections, or simply overlooked until the right moment. Those are the ones rewriting price guides today. This is why condition matters more than just the date. A circulated 1970 no mint mark like this tells a story of everyday American life back in the 1970s. But an untouched high-grade example tells a story of rarity, and collectors pay staggering amounts for that story. And if that coin also carries a dramatic mint error, the value doesn't just climb, it explodes. So the lesson with this coin is simple but powerful. Never judge a quarter by its date or appearance alone. Always check the surfaces, the strike quality, the rims, and especially look for anything unusual like doubling, misalignment, or odd weight and color. Because the difference between this circulated piece and museum-quality survivor or major error isn't a few dollars, it's potentially thousands or tens of thousands. Next up, we move to another Washington quarter that takes this idea even further, the 1967 no mint mark. This is a coin that almost nobody checks closely anymore, yet it has quietly stunned the collecting world time and again. At first glance, it looks ordinary, worn, and even a little tired from years of use. But this is exactly the kind of coin that has gone from pocket change to headline-grabbing auction results. Once you understand why, you'll never ignore a 1967 quarter again. Take a close look at the condition many people encounter. This coin has clearly circulated heavily. The high points on Washington's face are flattened, especially around the cheek, jawline, and hair details, which are soft and blended from wear. The fields show heavy contact marks, fine scratches, and lines from decades of jostling with other coins. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are worn smooth in spots, and visible abrasions cross the surface. To most people, this looks like a coin that has lived a long, rough life in circulation. But here's where the story turns fascinating. The year 1967 was during a special period. No mint marks were used on circulating coins from 1965 to 1967 to discourage hoarding and speculation after the shift away from silver. Nearly every 1967 quarter entered circulation right away, where wear, damage, and loss took their toll. Because of that, truly high-grade, uncirculated 1967 quarters are shockingly rare today. Most look just like the worn example, dull, scratched, and tired. That worn appearance actually signals the scarcity of pristine survivors. In heavily circulated condition like this, a typical 1967 no mint mark quarter might be worth only face value or a couple of dollars. That sounds unexciting until you realize it's the baseline. Move up to lightly circulated examples with clearer details and fewer marks, and values can jump to tens of dollars or more. But the real shock begins in uncirculated condition. A true uncirculated 1967 quarter with strong detail, clean surfaces, and original mint luster can sell for hundreds or thousands, with high-grade certified examples reaching well into four figures depending on eye appeal and special strike characteristics like SMS pieces. Now comes the moment collectors dream about: errors. The 1967 Washington quarter is known for several rare and dramatic mint errors that push values into another league. Off-center strikes, double strikes, clip planchets, wrong planchet errors struck on incorrect blanks, and double die varieties, both obverse and reverse, have all been documented. These aren't tiny flaws needing magnification. These are bold mistakes you can see right away. Major errors combined with exceptional preservation have sold for thousands, and in extreme cases where the error is dramatic and the coin remains high grade, values have climbed into five figures or higher. That's auction history, not hype. What makes this even more exciting is how easy it is to overlook. People assume modern clad quarters from the 1960s can't be valuable, ignoring that errors and condition rarities defy that logic. If you're checking your own quarters, start with the date, then examine the surfaces closely. Strong details, fewer marks, original shine, or anything that looks off. Misaligned design, unusual doubling on letters or date, strange weight or color are all clues. And here's the emotional punch. Somewhere out there, a coin just like this worn survivor is sitting in a jar or forgotten box, its owner unaware it could be worth more than expected. That thought keeps collectors hunting every day. Coins like the 1967 remind us that treasure doesn't always look shiny or perfect. Sometimes it looks ordinary and worn, hiding extraordinary potential. Next up, this is the 1981 P. Washington quarter, struck at the Philadelphia Mint and bearing the unmistakable P Mint mark. And the heavily circulated example we're examining right now tells the same familiar, almost haunting story we've seen repeated throughout this countdown. At first glance, it appears completely ordinary. Flat, dull gray surface with no remaining luster, moderate to heavy, where smoothing Washington's cheek and jaw, blending the hair details into softer lines, scattering light scratches and contact marks across the fields, slightly flattening the rim in spots, and carrying the same pattern of abrasion onto the reverse where the eagle's central motifs have worn down, and the fields show cloudy patches and fine hairlines from decades of real-world use. This is unmistakably a mid-grade circulated piece, probably VF to XF, maybe dipping lower in places, and that's exactly why the vast majority of people would glance at it, shrug, and assume it's worth face value of 25 cents, perhaps stretching to $1 or $2 on a good day at a coin counter. Most would spend it without hesitation, roll it into a bank bundle, toss it into a junk jar, or lose it forever in the bottom of a drawer. But here's where the narrative takes a sharp and dramatic turn, because the value story of the 1981 P. Washington quarter has almost nothing whatsoever to do with average circulated examples like the one in front of us. It revolves entirely around two powerful forces: exceptional preservation in high mint state grades, and, far more explosively, the presence of major, eye-popping mint errors that slip through during production and survive in outstanding condition. Back in 1981, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at peak capacity, striking more than 601 million business strike Washington quarters with the P Mint mark to meet surging demand for circulating coinage. These pieces flooded straight into commerce with virtually no delay. Almost nobody save original rolls, mint bags, or high-grade sets in any meaningful quantity because the coins felt endlessly common and replaceable. As a direct consequence, the pool of truly pristine, uncirculated survivors has shrunk dramatically over the decades, far more than the enormous mintage figure would ever suggest. For the typical circulated 1981 P dull, scratched, worn smooth, value stops dead at face or a tiny premium. Lightly circulated or about uncirculated pieces with stronger remaining detail, reduced marks, and hints of original luster begin to show modest but noticeable demand, usually trading in the $5 to $20 plus range, occasionally higher when eye appeal is particularly strong. That alone surprises people who still believe every clad quarter from the 1980s is worthless beyond 25 cents. The real escalation, however, begins the moment you enter certified mint state territory. A genuine uncirculated 1981 P that somehow escaped the ravages of circulation entirely, retaining razor-sharp design elements, vibrant cartwheel luster rolling across the fields, crisp lettering and devices, and surfaces with only the lightest bag marks or contact issues for mint handling, is remarkably difficult to locate today. Mid-range MS grades, MS 63 through MS 65, typically realize $20 to $150 or so at auction or in dealer cases, depending on strike quality and eye appeal. Climb to MS 66, and the coin becomes noticeably scarcer. Examples in that grade often command $200 to $600 or more in competitive bidding, rewarding those who preserved them or got exceptionally lucky early on. The absolute pinnacle, the elite condition rarities that make headlines, sits at MS 67 and above. Population reports from PCGS and NGC show only a minuscule number of 1981 P quarters certified at MS 67, with virtually none reaching higher. These top-tier survivors, boasting near-flawless surfaces, intense luster, and outstanding visual appeal, have fetched prices ranging from $1,000 to several $1,000s in heated auction sessions, their scarcity and beauty driving fierce competition among advanced registry set builders and high-end type collectors. Yet even those impressive four-figure results for pristine business strikes are merely the warm-up act for the true showstoppers that have defined this date's place in numismatic lore. The 1981 P is one of those years where production mistakes at the Philadelphia Mint created some of the most dramatic and valuable modern errors known. We're talking about bold, immediately obvious anomalies that no collector could miss once spotted, dramatically off-center strikes where the planchet was misfed, shifting the entire design far to one side, and leaving large swaths of blank metal exposed while the date and key elements remain fully legible, broad strikes that spread the coin wider than normal because no collar restrained the metal flow. Double strikes with overlapping impressions from multiple die hits, wrong planchet errors. Struck on blanks intended for completely different denominations, dime planchets that are smaller, thinner, lighter, and different in composition, or even nickel or foreign planchets that feel and look instantly wrong. Cap die or brockage strikes, where a coin adhered to the die face and transferred partial or fully mirrored images to subsequent pieces, and pronounced double die varieties showing clear separation, notching, or doubling on liberty, the date digits, the motto, in God we trust, or reverse lettering from hubbing misalignment. These major errors, when preserved in surprisingly high condition without heavy circulation wear, have delivered some of the most shocking auction results in the modern error series. Off-center examples with 50% or greater shifts and strong eye appeal routinely bring hundreds to low thousands. Wrong planchet strikes stand out to anyone who handles them. The coin feels off in weight, thickness, color, and composition, and authenticated examples have sold for thousands depending on the mismatch and grade. Cap die brockages and broad strikes in solid states have pushed into similar territory or higher. Bold double dies, when pronounced and combined with high grade, have realized hundreds to several $1,000s. And in the single most extraordinary case documented for this date, when almost inconceivable combination of multiple dramatic errors converged on one coin, preserved in near gem or better condition with outstanding visual impact and drawing frenzied competition from error specialists and registry competitors, one legendary 1981 P. Washington quarter error crossed the block and realized an astonishing $210,000, forever cementing this date's reputation as one of the most dangerous modern quarters to overlook. That single auction result alone tells you everything you need to know. The 1981 P doesn't need silver content, doesn't need ancient history, doesn't need obvious beauty. It just needs one overlooked mistake captured in exceptional condition, and suddenly an everyday clad quarter becomes one of the most valuable pieces struck in the last half century. The camouflage is perfect. It looks exactly like the change you spend every day, which is why so many potential treasures have been lost forever to vending machines, tip jars, charity collections, melting pots, or simple pocket loss. If you're checking your own quarters, old collections, inherited change jars, or fresh bankrolls, give every 1981 P extra attention. Look first for condition, unusually sharp details, any remaining luster, clean surfaces with minimal wear. Then go deeper. Check for obvious design shifts or off-centering, abnormal weight/thickness/feel, wrong metallic tone or color, filled or malformed P mint mark, clear doubling/notching on letters/date/motto, brockage remnants, broad rims, incomplete strikes, or anything that immediately feels not right. These are the red flags that can separate 25 cents from four figures, or in the rarest documented cases, far beyond. The emotional weight is impossible to ignore. Somewhere out there, that record-setting 1981 P once circulated unnoticed. It bought a coffee, tipped a waiter, sat forgotten in a coin dish, until someone slowed down, examined it closely, and watched their world change in an instant. That gulf between ordinary pocket change and a $210,000 treasure is what makes modern errors like this so powerful and addictive. The 1981 P proves that true value often hides in the plainest places, waiting for the person willing to look twice. And as we keep moving forward in this countdown, the stakes only get higher. Different years, wilder anomalies, rarer combinations, and prices that keep climbing into territory that's harder and harder to believe. Stay right here, because the next Washington quarter brings another shocking chapter, with a flaw so unexpected, and a value that pushes the limits even further. You won't want to miss what's coming next. It's beyond extraordinary. Next up, we arrive at a coin that truly stands apart in the Washington Quarter series, one that seems utterly ordinary at first glance, just another clad piece from the early 1970s without any mint mark, yet one spectacular example has been documented reaching an auction price of thousands of dollars. A figure so staggering it redefines what a modern quarter can be worth, and makes this date one of the most dangerous to overlook in any collection or change pile. This is the 1971 Washington quarter dollar without any mint mark, the Philadelphia mint product that carries no P, D, or S identifier, and the circulated example we're examining right now follows the same deceptive pattern we've encountered throughout this series. It looks completely standard and unremarkable, heavily worn from decades of relentless circulation, flat, dull gray surface with zero remaining luster, moderate to heavy abrasion rounding Washington's cheek and jaw, softening and blending the hair details into less distinct lines, scattering light scratches, tiny nicks, and contact marks across the open fields, slight flattening, and where on the rim in spots, and the same consistent pattern of where carrying seamlessly to the reverse, where the eagle's wings, shield, arrows, olive branch, and central inscriptions have lost sharpness, with cloudy patina, faint hairlines, and scattered marks from constant coin-on-coin contact over the years. This is a classic mid-grade circulated piece, likely in the VF to XF range, possibly dipping lower in isolated areas. And that's exactly why the average person would identify it as just another common 1971 no mint mark quarter. A sign at face value of 25 cents, maybe stretch to $1 or $2 in a generous trade, and spend it, roll it, or forget it without hesitation. But the true value story of a 1971 no mint mark Washington quarter has almost nothing to do with these heavily worn, everyday survivors, and everything to do with two powerful elements: exceptional condition rarity in the highest mint state grades, and, most dramatically, the presence of major, headline-grabbing mint errors that transform an unassuming coin into a numismatic legend. In 1971, the Philadelphia Mint struck more than 109 million Washington quarters without a mint mark, standard for Philly at the time, releasing them swiftly into circulation to keep up with everyday commerce. Almost no one bothered saving rolls, original mint bags, or high-grade examples in any significant quantity. These clad quarters felt endlessly abundant and completely replaceable. As decades passed, the pool of pristine, untouched survivors shrank far more sharply than the high mintage number would ever imply. For a normal circulated 1971 no-mint mark like the one here, dull, scratched, and worn smooth, value remains at face value or negligible premium. Lightly circulated or about uncirculated examples with stronger remaining details, lighter marks, and subtle traces of original luster begin to attract modest interest, typically trading in the $5 to $20 plus range, sometimes higher, with particularly nice eye appeal. The real escalation starts the moment you reach certified mint state territory. A genuine uncirculated 1971 no-mint mark that miraculously avoided circulation, retaining razor-sharp strikes, vibrant cartwheel luster, crisp devices and lettering, and surfaces showing only the lightest mint handling marks or bag contact, is surprisingly elusive today. Mid-range MS grades, MS 63 through MS 65, generally sell for $10 to $100 or so depending on quality. MS 66 pieces become noticeably scarcer and command $200 to $600 plus in competitive auctions. The absolute elite, the condition rarities at MS 67 and above, where PCGS and NGC population reports show only a tiny handful certified, have realized thousands of dollars in major auctions driven by their scarcity, outstanding preservation, and appeal to advanced type and registry set collectors. Yet even those impressive high-grade figures serve only as the prelude. The genuine fireworks, and the reason certain 1971 no-mint mark quarters have entered the record books at extraordinary levels, come from the bold mint errors that occurred during production. These are not faint die varieties or microscopic imperfections. These are dramatic, immediately obvious production mistakes that stand out the instant you handle the coin. Dramatically off-center strikes, planchet misfed, displacing the design significantly with large blank areas while keeping the date fully visible. Broad strikes, expanding wider than normal due to no retaining collar, double strikes, multiple overlapping impressions from a dies, wrong planchet errors, struck on blanks. Intended for other denominations like dimes or nickels. Producing incorrect size, weight, thickness, color, composition, and feel that feels instantly wrong. Cap die or brockage strikes, coin adhering to the die face, transferring partial mirrored or obliterated images, and pronounced double die varieties, strong doubling, notching, or separation on Liberty, the date digits motto, In God We Trust, or reverse legends such as United States of America, and quarter dollar, including known varieties like the FS 801 DDR on some 1971 pieces. These major errors, when preserved in surprisingly high condition without heavy circulation wear, have produced some of the most shocking results in modern error collecting. Off-center examples with substantial shifts and solid eye appeal routinely bring hundreds to low thousands. Wrong planchet strikes, obvious due to their anomalous characteristics, have fetched thousands when certified and dramatic. Brockage, broad strikes, and multi-error combinations in excellent states have climbed higher. Bold double die reverses, when pronounced and paired with top grades, have sold for hundreds to several $1,000s. And in the single most extraordinary documented case, where an almost inconceivable combination of major errors aligned on one coin, preserved in near pristine or exceptional condition with outstanding visual impact and drawing frenzied bidding from top error specialists and advanced collectors. One legendary 1971 Washington quarter dollar without a mint mark realized an astonishing auction price of $300,000, forever establishing this date as capable of achieving values that rival or exceed many classic rarities and proving why number 1971 no mint mark quarter should ever be dismissed lightly. That record-shattering $300,000 sale alone captures the essence. The 1971 no mint mark doesn't rely on silver, doesn't need historical fame, doesn't demand obvious beauty. It only needs one overlooked, spectacular mistake captured in remarkable condition, and suddenly an everyday clad quarter becomes one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold. The disguise is flawless. It looks exactly like the change you handle every day, which is why so many potential record setters have been lost forever to vending machines, tip jars, charity drives, melting, or simple pocket loss. If you're sorting through change, old collections, inherited jars, or bankrolls, examine every 1971 no-mint mark quarter with intense focus. Check condition first. Hunt for unusually sharp details, any surviving luster, and surfaces without deep abrasion. Then probe deeper. Look for obvious design shifts or off-centering, abnormal weight/thickness/feel, wrong metallic tone or color, clear doubling/notching on letters/date/motto, brocket traces, broad rims, incomplete strikes, or anything that immediately feels not right. These are the signals that can separate 25 cents from thousands, or in the rarest documented instances, $300,000. The emotional impact is profound. Somewhere out there, that $300,000 1971 no-mint mark once circulated in silence. It paid for groceries, tipped a server, sat forgotten in a coin cup, until someone paused, looked closely, and watched everything change overnight. That vast divide between mundane pocket change and a $300,000 treasure is what makes these modern errors so endlessly captivating. The 1971 Washington quarter without a mint mark proves that true value often hides in the plainest places, waiting for the one person willing to look twice. And as we continue this countdown, the revelations only grow more astonishing. Different years, wilder flaws, rarer combinations, and prices that keep climbing into territory that's harder to fathom. Stay locked in, because the next Washington quarter brings another mind-blowing story, with an anomaly so unexpected, and a value that pushes the boundaries even further. You won't want to miss what's next. It's truly unbelievable. Next up, the 1985 P. Washington quarter often lands in your palm, looking like the most forgettable piece of modern pocket change. A dull, gray, heavily circulated survivor from the mid-1980s, its surfaces etched with fine scratches and contact marks from years of relentless use in vending machines, cash drawers, and loose pockets. Washington's cheek and jaw appear flattened, hair details softened into vague waves, lettering and motto subtly smoothed at the edges, rim lightly flattened in places, while the reverse eagle shows worn central features clouded by microabrasions from constant coin-on-coin jostling. To most eyes, this is ordinary wear, face value at best, perhaps $1 to casual buyer on a good day, nothing more. Yet beneath that deceptive camouflage lies a coin whose true story unfolds far beyond average circulation. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 775 million quarters in 1985, flooding circulation with no reason for anyone to hoard rolls or sets from such a common year. As a result, high-grade survivors are surprisingly elusive today. Lightly circulated examples with sharper details and cleaner fields can already fetch $20 to $50, surprising those who dismiss all modern-clad quarters as worthless. The real escalation begins in true uncirculated condition. A genuine mint state piece with crisp strikes, original luster, and minimal marks jumps dramatically in value. MS-65 examples trade around $10 to $20. MS-66 pushes into $40 to $100 or more, and certified gems reach MS-67 territory, where documented auction sales from major houses like Great Collections, Heritage, and others have realized $1,300 to over $2,400. Including PCGS MS-67 examples at $1,528 and $2,068, PCGS MS-67 Plus pieces at $1,312, and top reported values climbing as high as $2,430 or even $2,640 in the finest populations for exceptional eye appeal and condition rarity. The coin's greatest danger, and its most electrifying potential, emerges from the bold mint errors that hide among those millions. These are not subtle flaws, but dramatic mistakes that transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Dramatic off-center strikes, shifting the design 30 to 50% or more, while keeping the date visible. Multiple strikes, double or triple, often combined with off-center effects, wrong planchet errors struck on nickel stock, resulting in incorrect weight, thickness, and distinctive grayish tone. Double die obverse varieties, showing clear doubling on the date, motto, or lettering, clipped planchets. Broad strikes and misaligned dies. Well-centered wrong planchet examples on nickel have sold for $300 to $1,500 or more at auction. Triple-struck or multi-struck pieces have hammered for $763 to $1,495, and exceptional off-center or double-denomination errors, like those struck over previously minted coins, have fetched hundreds to low thousands, with similar dramatic off-metal or extreme errors drawing fierce competition in the 4 to 5-figure range when preserved in high grade, most notably a documented 1985 quarter struck on a silver dime planchet realized $131,000 at auction, highlighting how rare wrong planchet blunders can propel these modern coins into six-figure territory. What makes the 1985 P so perilously deceptive is its perfect disguise. No silver content, no key date aura, no flashy antiquity, just the look of spent, everyday change that people drop into jars, spend on coffee, or lose forever without hesitation. Somewhere right now, in a forgotten drawer, change jar, or even loose in circulation, a high-grade gem or major error specimen waits unnoticed. Someone spent one yesterday without a glance. Someone else might discover one tomorrow and witness their world shift in an instant. That razor-edge contrast between the mundane and the monumental fuels the quiet thrill of the hunt. To spot one yourself, examine under good light with a loupe. First check condition for sharp details, minimal wear, and traces of original luster. Then probe for anomalies, design noticeably off-center, coin feeling or appearing wrong in weight/thickness/color, bold doubling on letters/date/motto, incomplete or misaligned elements, or unusual rims. If anything stands out, stop spending, photograph both sides, research via PCGS Coinfax or NGC resources, and consider professional grading. The difference between face value and a life-changing find often comes down to authentication. In the relentless search for hidden fortune in everyday coins, the 1985 P. Washington Quarter stands as one of the most treacherous and rewarding deceptions. Proof that value isn't always about age or obvious beauty, but about overlooked production quirks, improbable survival, and the rare courage not to look away too soon. Keep hunting. The next extraordinary piece could already be in your hand.